Okay, guys, I'm in the office and I'm hanging out with Larry Pizzi, President of Raleigh Electric. And I thought this would be a cool opportunity to hear directly from you about some of the systems this year, get some feedback. Because you and I talk, we do one-on-ones occasionally before I do reviews, but you explain some of this really well about the different systems and stuff. So yeah, take it away, Larry.
Sure. Hi, Court. Thanks for coming out. We really appreciate you coming down and reviewing some of the bikes.
Yeah, thanks.
So we're really excited about a lot of the things that we're doing this year at Raleigh Electric. We're relatively new into the space. This is our third year of bringing Raleigh branded e-bikes into North America.
Cool.
Although we've been in the space for a very long time.
And Raleigh's been around for like
130 years.
130 years,
Yeah.
wow. It's
Yeah.
2017 right now.
It's 2017, 130. This is our 130th anniversary, and actually the BBC is broadcasting a story on Raleigh this week.
I have to catch that online, maybe.
It's very cool. So in any event, with regard to e-bikes, Raleigh has always been a brand of bikes for people that just enjoy cycling to get around and the simple joy of riding a bike. Mm-hmm. And also for urban transportation. So e-bikes really fit into those categories incredibly well.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people, my age, that are in the baby boom generation that perhaps are beginning to age out of riding a normal bike and are looking for an e-bike that can sort of extend their range and enable them to enjoy cycling like they may have in the past or when they were a kid. And we try to create bikes that are really function specific. In other words, bikes for different kinds of riding. Yeah. So for example,
this
Raleigh Sprite is one of our opening price point bikes, and it's an incredible value at $1,899. And it is a bike that's filled with a lot of wonderful technology that has trickled down from bikes that are in the $3,000 and $4,000 range just a couple of years ago. For example, it uses a middle motor, a center drive technology, a motor that's built by a company called TranzX, a Taiwanese company that we work with very closely. And what we really like about these TranzX system bikes is that they're open systems, so we can make them perform the way we want them to perform by mapping firmware and giving it the same kind of ride feel that we want relative to the kind of purpose the bike is designed for.
I see.
This bike obviously is a low step-through model. It also comes with a diamond frame.
Is that one over there?
It's that one over there.
Sweet.
Which some people prefer. Mm-hmm. But we wind up selling about 80% of the total with this low step-through. So even guys are riding low step-through bikes. Very popular in Europe, where people use bikes for utilitarian purposes. It's not unusual to see a man riding a low-step bike. So we don't even call them a woman's frame like we used to call them in the bike business.
Now it's a wave, right?
We call it a low-step bike.
Low
so
step?
It's easy to get on and off of.
Okay.
And utilizing this middle motor technology, what's really great about it is that you don't need a real high wattage motor to generate a lot of torque.
Yeah.
Because the middle motor is driving the chainring of the crank.
Yeah.
And we're on the wrong side of the bike here, but the cool thing about bicycles is that most bikes have derailleur systems, which give you variable gearing.
Right.
And having the motor drive the chainring, it enables you to utilize the bike's own gearing to give you variable ratios and increasing levels of torque.
Cool.
You can actually reduce or increase the motor's ability to climb a hill or go faster on a descent without taking the motor outside of its operating range.
Sure. Just like it's like your legs, right? You don't want to really strain your legs if you don't have to. You switch gears. Some of the really expensive systems that you were talking about, that maybe it's a trickle down happening, they have a little bit of shift sensing, or there's because you are adding strain to the chain. Can you talk about the TransXDrive here? I believe this is a cadence sensor, right? Or how does it work?
Yeah, this uses your pedal cadence to determine how much assist to send to the crank for input.
I see.
And so there's another variable, and of course that's handled through the controls that are mounted on the handlebar. This plus and minus button there can increase or decrease the level of assist. So you can dial it in two ways with your pedal cadence and also with the assist level that you want. But the idea is that it's maximizing the stored energy that's here in the battery pack.
Yep.
So generally, bikes with middle motors like the Sprite gives you considerably longer range than a bike with a hub motor that's delivering similar performance. You'll find, when you look at specs of a lot of e-bikes that are on the market, many of them will use a 500 watt or larger wattage hub motor, and even with a 500 watt motor, as in comparison to a 350 watt motor that we have here, you're pulling a lot more stored energy out of the battery pack, so that diminishes your range. And with a 500 watt hub motor, the very best 500 watt hub motors will generate about 40 Newton meters of torque. And generally, center drive systems like this will generate between 60 and 70 Newton meters of torque, awesome, which is considerably higher. So we really like this because it behaves like a bicycle. The weight is low and centered. All of the bike parts that are the bike's built up with are conventional bicycle parts.
Serviceable.
So they're very serviceable. You don't have a lot of wires going through. Like if you have a hub motor, you have wires going back to the hub motor. Connectors and things that you wouldn't normally have on a conventional bike are gone when you use a middle motor system like this TranzX.
Okay, so I have a question on that note. I don't see any hub motors. Well, maybe there's like one over there. Are you completely mid-drive now?
Pretty much. We're actually, you're right in that we have an opening price point bike, which is a very traditional looking Raleigh called the Superbe. That uses a hub motor, a 350 watt planetary geared hub motor. And we do that so that we can hit even a lower price point. So that bike is $17.99, $100 less than.
Can we come look at it a little closer?
Sure.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, there's the hub motor down there, and
yeah, let's turn it around so you can actually get a better look at it.
Oh yeah.
So this is a really nice bike. There's nothing wrong with hub motors. However, they're not as efficient as a center motor system. So you won't get quite as much range out of the same size battery pack. A 400 watt hour. This is actually 417 watt hours.
Oh, it's 48 volts too,
48
so
volt
more
system.
efficient energy transfer, I guess.
That's right. The higher the voltage, the cooler the system runs, and it's a little bit more efficient. So we really like these systems. And again, there's nothing wrong with a hub motor. They work just fine. They just add some complexity that we don't like, obviously.
And some weight at the rear versus the middle, right? This one, it's got a battery and the motor in the back.
That's exactly right. And generally, that's a bit of a disadvantage. There's pluses and minuses to all these things.
Sure.
So, and we've been doing this for a long time, at our company, and we've been through this trickle down of technology. And what we try to do when we design a line of bikes is utilize the best available technology for a particular purpose and to hit a particular price point.
Cool.
We believe you can actually buy a really nice e-bike today for under $2,000. A couple of years ago, that was not really viable.
Right. Well, and you guys have a dealer network. This is a bit of another conversation, but there's more here than just the hardware. There's back to the dealers, and we were even talking about insurance before, how you guys are insured. You're like a real company, so if something happens, you're there for the customer. And you have the Electric Bike Competency Center, right? That's still servicing older products.
Yeah, well, our company goes back to roots that began in the United States in 1997 when we operated as Currie Technologies.
Yeah.
And we were acquired by Accell Group, which is a Dutch company, in 2012. And they're the largest e-bike company in the Western world. Our primary market is in the Netherlands, in Germany, and Western Europe, where e-bikes really are mainstream. In the U.S., we're really, they haven't gone mainstream yet, but they're growing very rapidly, and we hope that in the next couple of years they'll reach about 15% or more of the total market for bicycles, and that would then be considered mainstream.
Well, one question that's come up in recent years is some of these bikes have hydraulic brakes. Like right here, we got the hydraulic disc brakes from Shimano, and there's no motor inhibitor. Like used to, whenever you'd pull the brake, it would cut power. And I guess some of these systems, like that Shimano Steps, this is a higher end bike right here. It's so responsive that I guess they said, well, we don't need the motor inhibitors. But now I'm seeing like all of these bikes don't have it, and I'm just wondering, back to shifting and stuff, do you recommend powering down? Do you recommend easing off the pedals? What about the brakes? I just want to get your feedback.
Sure. Well, on center drive bikes, because the motor is driving the chainring, when you're shifting, yes, easing up on your pedal input is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Now you can't always do that, because sometimes when you're climbing a hill,
you need to shift down.
You find yourself in a situation where you need to shift into a lower gear. So obviously, when you have the motor torque plus your pedal torque on the chain line, that's putting a little more stress on the chain and the free hub.
Right.
But what has happened is that the bike industry, has designed chains and cassettes for these free hub bodies that are specific to e-bikes, that are much more durable than a regular bicycle chain or a bicycle free hub.
Okay.
So they're not they don't get adversely affected quickly by the extra torque that's on them. So you get a lot more advantage and a little less disadvantage when it comes to wear and tear.
Cool.
When you have a hub motor, the hub motor is just simply driving the rear wheel.
Yeah. It doesn't interact at all with like the shifting mechanisms.
Doesn't interact with the shifting, and it doesn't interact really with your pedal input. But of course, if you can get the bike in a high enough gear, then you can add to the efficiency of the overall drive experience and increase your range by adding human power. But what happens typically on hub motor bikes is you find yourself generally riding in the highest gears a lot.
Yeah.
Rarely do you find yourself shifting into a lower gear. And with a middle motor, you really do have to use the derailleur system to effectively get the most out of the system. But these are bicycles, they're not mopeds, they're not motorcycles, and what we're finding is that people like to be actively involved and riding it like a bicycle to get the exercise benefits that you can extract from riding a e-bike. No longer are e-bikes considered for the old and lazy. They can really add to almost anyone's health and well-being.
Or recovery. I mean, you had a mountain biking crash and your shoulder, and so it's like, I have had knee injuries, and that's what got me into the e-bike scene. So
exactly, a lot of people use an e-bike as a crutch to get back to find their fitness again. Might be recovery from an injury or a knee or hip or ankle situation where maybe a replacement was necessary, and they're wonderful crutches to do just that.
Maybe the last topic here is the classes, because I know you've been working on legislation. I think you've been involved with this in California, Class 1, Class 2, Class 3. A lot of these bikes are Class 1, and some of them offer this little like boost button thing. Can you just real quick touch on some of that?
Sure. Well, I chair this committee for the Bicycle Products Suppliers Association, along with about 14 other industry companies. All the major bicycle brands are part of this committee, and we're working very hard at trying to standardize legal and legislative issues around e-bikes in the United States. So there's a federal law that defines a low-speed electric bike, but when you go, it doesn't have anything to do with use applications at the state level. Here we are in California, where our company is based, and a lot of bicycle companies are based in North America. So we started in California trying to get the legislative issues ironed out, because there were many places where you couldn't ride an e-bike 2 years ago. We were successful, and part of that success came from establishing 3 different classes of e-bikes, because the definition of a low-speed electric bicycle is very broad.
Yeah.
So a Class 1 low-speed electric bike is a pedal assist only bike, no throttle, that has a maximum motor-powered speed of 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
A Class 2 low-speed electric bike is the exact same thing, except it has a throttle.
Or a boost button, right?
Or a boost button.
Sweet.
That's exactly right. And a Class 3 would be a higher speed, higher top speed bike. And that's, some people refer to them as speed pedelecs. They have a top speed of 45 kilometers an hour or 28 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And they're really great for people that are commuting long distances, or just looking for something that's fast and very nimble handled.
It's like the Raleigh Redux.
That's right.
I was looking at that one earlier. Super fast, like a race car.
It's a super commuter. I mean, that's a great bike. It has a large capacity battery pack, and you can go very long distances, especially if you're riding it like you'd ride a normal bike and blending your human power input.
Yeah. Well, and back to the brake thing. So that one has hydraulic brakes. It has the Brose system versus Shimano or TranzX. I mean, what are the motor inhibitor thing? Like, is that an issue, or people?
Not on a bike with the center motor system, because what the system does is when you stop pedaling, it cuts off power to the motor.
Okay.
So
and
there's no need for brake inhibitor switches. And what's really nice about that is that it eliminates the complications that are sometimes caused by brake inhibitors. Brake inhibitors are little switches that are in the brake lever, and there's a wire that goes to that switch. So you think about it. You got
more wires.
You got more wires, more complexity. You got a switch that in all kinds of weather conditions can get bogged down or clogged or stop functioning, and it cuts off power to the motor. So if it stops working, then you got a bike that's not functional. So eliminating complexity is part of where the trickle-down technology has taken us.
Okay.
And that's one of the great reasons to really focus on middle motor technology. There's so many benefits with very few disadvantages to middle motors.
Two more questions came up. So maybe that's why you have a boost button instead of a twist throttle, because the throttle, like, you could grab the grip and accidentally keep it going. Versus a button, it's easy to let go. Is that right?
So all of our TranzX equipped bikes are pre-wired for just simply plugging in something called a boost button, which behaves like a throttle. In other words, it can actuate the motor without you pedaling by simply pushing the boost button. The bike has to be moving, to actuate the motor, but it works like a throttle. Some people feel the need to have something like that on their e-bike, or at least they perceive the need.
Sure.
What we find is that after getting familiarized with the bike, most people realize that if you need it to go quickly from a stop, that while you're at a stop, you increase the power assist level up to maximum power, and then as soon as you start pushing on the pedals, that motor kicks in and it behaves very much like a throttle or a boost button. So boost buttons, I think, are nice in certain situations and for a certain demographic that really feels the need for it.
Yeah.
But what we're finding is that as people experience electric bikes more and more, they realize that you don't need a throttle and you don't need a boost button.
Well, I would agree in most cases, but there is the trike, for example, and that one, your seating position, your legs are more forward, so pedaling it's just not as active, is how I describe it. And on that, it seems like that's been a popular feature for that, where you got an older person probably riding a trike, maybe some groceries, and then they got the option. So I like that there's the option.
Exactly. But like I said, most people learn how to operate the bike by using the higher assist level and realize that there's limited situations where you really need the boost or need the throttle.
And you've also wired in for lights on a lot of these bikes.
Yeah,
so people can add.
Almost all the bikes are pre-wired for a lighting system. Some of them come equipped with lighting systems, but all of them are pre-wired so that the bike's own battery power can supply the power to a front and rear light.
Okay, well, and that's cool. That one of the benefits of, I guess, Raleigh and IZIP and these Accell brands is they're predominantly sold through shops. You can go in and buy them and get set up or even test ride them. But now you also, I don't know if you have any updates on the websites and stuff. Is that?
Sure. Well, we're just this week sending 2 new websites, a Raleigh Electric and an IZIP Electric website live. These new sites are going to be commerce enabled, so you can actually shop our complete range of bike and then pick it up at one of our many dealers nearby. And in some markets, certain zip codes, we work with Beeline, which is a mobile bike shop, basically, that will deliver the bike to your home or office at a pre-scheduled time. If you, it's a premium service. It costs about $80, but
not bad.
Really convenient in a lot of places, a lot of high traffic markets where you may not want to drive your car,
or have a car even.
Even have a car. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a nice advantage.
Well, good luck with those launches. I know website stuff can be a little crazy, right? My website's gone offline a couple times in updates, but you guys do a good job. One of the points this was my other question. We were talking about you can arrow up for more assist or arrow down, but you were also talking about how your system, you can do a little bit more and you can map a power curve or something. Can you just give me, what does that mean?
Yeah, well, all of the TranzX system bikes, and these tend to be the lower price point bikes, you can adjust the power curve up or down by some range of percentage.
Yeah.
Different systems, we have a couple different user interfaces that work a little bit different, so it's not the same on both, but the effect is the same. So if you're someone that you're not looking for a big hit of power.
Yeah.
You're looking for more mellow kind of an experience, and maybe you have the need to really maximize the capacity in the battery.
Yeah.
Then you can tune the system down, and it's completely adjustable. You can play around with it. You don't have to take it into the shop. You can do it yourself.
I think I was looking at that before. What do you hold the?
Yeah, you hold the power button and the plus button down, and then it gives you a scale, and then you can use the plus and minus button to ramp the curve down or ramp the curve up. So maybe you want the opposite. Maybe you're somebody that wants to get to work fast, right? And you want that big hit right off of the line.
Beat your friends off the line. Yeah,
exactly.
That's right.
So you can dial it in, and it's really quite nice. On the trike, we use this same system, or I'm sorry, we don't use the same system. We use the one with the center display.
And the little one, now you have a USB port. I've gone over the bikes. I've done individual reviews, but it's just neat. It's like there's some new stuff this year.
Yeah, there's constant improvements, and like I said, we don't rest on building the same bike year after year after year. Some companies do that. But every year we've found, for the last 5 years anyway, we've found that the technology is moving so quickly that if we're not updating our products every year or layering in new models with updated technology, we find ourselves behind the leaders, and we don't want to be behind the leaders. We want to be the leader.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you bringing me here, educating me on your products. I wish you luck, Larry. You have any final thoughts, or?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned how we, what our business model is, and how we work through bike shops and dealers to fulfill our products rather than ship them directly to the consumer. Well, I'd like to explain why. Yeah, there's a premium to be paid for that kind of delivery system. However, we are able to offer a really nice electric bike at $1,799 this year.
Yeah.
So it's reasonably priced, and you get all the service of a local bike shop to set up, fit, assemble, accessorize your bike, be there when you need it.
Yeah.
People tend to ride electric bikes on average 10 times more.
Wow.
And 10 times more, and a total of 10 times more from a distance perspective than they ride a normal bike. So they're going to need maintenance.
Yeah.
So if you bought it and it's been fulfilled through a local bike shop, you have a service provider in the field that's there to take care of you, and that's really critical.
Yeah.
When you buy something direct, and there's a lot of companies selling e-bikes direct to consumer. Nothing wrong with that. However, you don't have a service provider that's there to take care of you should something go wrong, even if it's within or outside of the warranty period. So we put a lot of value in that. And we are a 130-year-old company, and we've been around for a long time. We're not going anywhere. You mentioned before insurance, but you have to ask yourself when you're buying an electric bike these days, because there's a lot of brands selling e-bikes, what is the value of a stable company? And do they have product liability insurance should something go wrong? These are questions you should be asking.
Well, that's what I was like. I didn't even know what product liability insurance is. So that's like if you buy a product from someone and it blows up on you, and then you get hurt, and you're like, uh-oh, and you need like financial reimbursement for your medical bills. If it's a small company without liability insurance, you're just on your own?
Well, there's probably not much to go after. A lot of brands come, they're direct imports from China.
Yeah.
With nobody in between. Sometimes there is some North American infrastructure, but they're startup companies, and they may not be as well resourced in the event that something goes wrong. But we've all heard stories about lithium-ion batteries having
like
issues.
The Samsung phones, even some of the higher quality stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't want problems, so we buy only premium products in building our bikes to ensure that we don't have safety issues.
Yeah.
But if we do, for whatever reason, we have insurance so that we can take care of you should you have a problem. That's a question that you might want to ask. I think that and the service question, the after-sale service question, are really critical. The other thing that I think you need to consider is that buying a bike, in many instances, now it certainly does depend on what kind of bike platform we're talking about, but it's a little bit like buying a pair of shoes. There are size and fit issues, and it's more than just raising or lowering the saddle or raising or lowering the handlebars.
Sure.
So most better e-bikes come in a multitude of frame sizes, so that you can get really a great fit. A lot of these direct-to-consumer brands, and even some that aren't direct-to-consumer, they build in a single frame size. Maybe they have a low step and a diamond version, but they don't come in multiple frame sizes. And you really want to get a bike that fits you correctly. That's another
I agree with that, especially if you're going 10 times further.
Exactly.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much, Larry. I appreciate it. And what are the new websites?
New websites are RaleighElectric.com.
Okay.
RALEIGH
Sweet.
Electric.com, and IZIP, IZIP Electric.com.
Because that's another company. There's a little bit of overlap. We've got some IZIP models and stuff here too. That's also part of the Accell Group.
Yeah, and in the United States, we're also Hi-Bike is part of our brand portfolio in e-bikes. Our division here in Simi Valley, California, does Raleigh and IZIP, and we service the entire network.
You still support some of the older products too, because I remember there was like Diamondback, eFlow, and you've got the EBCC. So if someone has a question, that's part of the long-term service.
EBCC is the Electric Bike Competence Center, and we have both online and staff resources to service everything that we've ever sold into the marketplace. We get customers that have bought e-bikes from us and electric scooters from us.
Oh man, way back with the EZIP.
Yeah. In the 1990s and early 2000s that we still help them out. And
so there has been an evolution. Like some of these products, they get retired or whatever, and you introduce new products. But that's part of the. I don't know. I'm just trying to get a feel for there's the momentum and the stability of the bigger company.
Yeah, for sure, and that's part of it. We've only really talked about TranzX as a drive system, but part of our go-to-market strategy is using systems as opposed to the old days when we used to buy a hub motor from one vendor and a controller from another vendor and a battery pack from somebody else, plug them all together, and hope for the best. That was very challenging. We're buying only complete systems, so we deal with Bosch, we deal with Shimano, we deal with Brose, and we deal with TranzX. And these are all complete systems, suppliers that offer not only the motor, but the battery pack, the user interface, the display, the controller. These are systems that talk to each other. They have onboard, diagnostic capabilities, and even beyond that, they're all CAN bus systems.
What does that mean? Tell me about the CAN bus again.
Well, you know how these days you have a modern car, you drive a Prius?
I do.
When you take your Prius into service, the first thing that the mechanic does is that they flip open their computer and they plug it in and they run diagnostics.
Cool.
The same thing happens on e-bikes today, at least all the e-bikes that we sell. CAN bus is a diagnostic protocol. There's a microprocessor that resides on one of the major components and a microprocessor that resides on each one of the major electronic components, like the control mechanism, the battery pack, the user interface, and the motor. And just by connecting it to a computer and running a diagnostics protocol, a mechanic can tell exactly what's wrong with the bike. So that saves hours of time and takes a lot of guesswork out of the game. In the past, we would listen to what the problem was, and we had a simple flow chart that you've checked that, then check this. And by a process of elimination, we would, in all likelihood, come up with the part that failed. But that doesn't always work, because a lot of times what happens is if you have a problem in the motor that triggers a MOSFET in the controller to blow, the controller is bad. So in the past, we would send out a new controller to our dealer, they'd install it, they'd send the customer, it works just fine on the stand, and in a test ride around the block, they'd send the customer back out, and a week later, the customer would come back with the exact same problem. So you could never tell that the problem was really the motor, but not the symptom that was caused by a bad motor, which was a blown controller. This eliminates that. There is no guessing. You can see it on the screen, on this logic screen. Very user-friendly system, and it's offered by TranzX, by Shimano, by Brose, and by Bosch. All of our systems providers have this technology back end that deploy CAN bus systems and makes it really easy to service, and really increases the reliability of the product. And that's really what it's all about. We want e-bikes to be just as reliable as a pedal-powered bike. So that things don't go wrong.
Right. Well, a minute ago you were talking about complete systems, and we talked about TranzX, Shimano, Brose, and Bosch. What can you tell me why you chose each one? We've got several in front of us. Why not just go with one of them?
Well, cost is one. So we use TranzX systems primarily on our opening price point bicycles, because they make this, what they call an M16 system, which is this cadence operated middle motor system that works really well, incredibly dependable, and is reasonably priced. We can build a bike for under $2,000 deploying that system. We also use that same system on a Class 3 speed bike that is about $2,500, which is one of the more reasonably priced speed bikes on the market.
What's that one called?
In the IZIP line, it's called the Dash.
The Dash.
We don't have a comparable model this year in the Raleigh line, but one's coming for 2018. And then Shimano today is in the market with this E6000 system, and people that know the name Shimano know that it's really high quality Japanese manufactured products. They've been in the bicycle industry for a lot of years, and they're really renowned for making some of the highest quality and most reliable products around. So they build a wonderful system that's really designed for recreation and city kind of riding. And we deploy that on a bike like the Raleigh Detour. There's a diamond frame and a low step version right there.
Nice.
And it's a great ride feel, incredibly reliable, and it's also pretty reasonably priced, but it's in the $2,000 to $3,000 range. The Detour, I think, is $2,399. And then we use On the Raleigh line, we use a German drive on the Redux, which
I like that one.
You just rode.
Yep.
Really a wonderful system. Brose uses a belt as opposed to a metal or plastic gear-to-gear drive, so it's incredibly quiet.
I heard there was a cutaway. Is there a cutaway we can look at?
Yeah.
Can we? Is this okay? Sure. Is this like private or?
Yeah, come on in.
I wanted to know.
I'm allowed to show that to you.
Sweet. Larry's office. Oh, cool. Look at this.
So there's, it's a Kevlar notched belt that, drives from the motor.
Okay. So this is like magnets and winding. It's like a gearless canister motor thing. And then it steps down the RPM. So this spins faster and it steps it down so that you get torque too, because it's...
That's right. And it's driving, this cog, which is aluminum, that's attached to the bottom bracket spindle. And all the sensor technology, you can see here's a rotational sensor, and there are torque sensors that are built into this mechanism as well that can tell how hard you're pushing on the pedals.
Yeah.
And then this board, this printed circuit board assembly, is a microprocessor that takes all that information and computes it 1,000 times a second.
Hey, cool.
and provides power to the crank. And what's wonderful about it is on the best systems using torque and cadence is that it's in perfect harmony with your own human power input. So it's very, very intuitive.
Can I hold this?
Of course.
Feel it? Okay. I'll just carefully, Look at that. So you can see it's almost like a planetary geared setup in there. There's those 3 little, I guess, cogs?
Yep.
That would spin, and then they rotate on the inside of that gear, and then they've got the belt. That does feel smoother, and this tends to be one of the quieter motors. Does it also measure rear wheel speed, the system?
Yeah, all of the systems that with a center motor have a speed sensor.
Okay.
That are attached. There's really a magnet that's attached to one of the
spoke
spokes
of
the rear wheel, and a sensor that's normally attached to the chainstay. It could attach to the seat stay that reads how many times that sensor passes, or the magnet passes the sensor, and determines how fast the bike is going.
Ah, I see. Yeah.
That's how, so that's another input. Speed is really an important component in determining the ride feel. It also determines when the motor should stop.
Well, these classes, right? Is it a class 3 that's going to go to 28 miles per hour, or is it a class 1 that's going to stop at 20?
That's right.
This is cool.
And you saw, I think when we were showing you, when our engineer was showing you the Logix system that TranzX utilizes.
Yeah.
When you connect the CAN bus system up to the computer, you can actually change the top speed output. Now you can't make it go faster, but you can make it go slower. Because we have a lot of customers that use our bikes for rentals, and they're in very crowded, beach communities a lot of times. So sometimes they tune the top speed down.
Is that all of them, Larry? Or is this just the TranzX ones? Which ones can be tuned down?
It's all of the TranzX bikes.
All the TranzX ones. I want to, just to clarify, I list the motor and everything with the reviews I do. I realize for some people it's like, what are you talking about? But, there it is. You can see the little TranzX logo. Just wanted to highlight that. It's really cool. Thanks for showing me the motor. That was a highlight for me for sure.
Sure, you're welcome. I really appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely. It's been good. Check out the reviews, guys, and we'll come back here eventually, I'm sure, get some updates. Thanks, Larry.
Great. Thanks, Court.